What's going on, everyone? So Daniel Gafford is in trade news recently, and several teams are kind of keeping an eye on Daniel Gafford, as well as, there have been reports that some teams may have even reached out about Daniel Gafford. Now, supposedly, Dallas isn't interested in trading him right now, but that's probably going to change. So Daniel Gafford, they were shopping in the offseason. They gave him a new contract, and a lot of people are like, oh, so they don't want to shop him. No, they gave him that contract so they have more control and they could get a better return and they don't have to risk losing him for nothing. They basically took the pressure off. And Daniel Gafford got the money that's basically the going rate. Now, that doesn't mean that Dallas is just going to trade him just to trade him. That doesn't mean that they're just going to trade him for peanuts. But it's also so early. Teams, you see it every year, right? Like, oh, hey, we're not trading this guy unless it's, for a superstar package or something like that. And the next thing you know, that guy's getting shipped out at the trade deadline. Daniel Gafford recently signed a 3-year, $54 million contract. So his contract structure will be $17.3 million next season, $18.1 million 2027, 2028, and then $19 million 2028, 2029. Lakers have been linked to Daniel Gafford dating back to the offseason, and even a little bit last season. There was talks about like, hey, do the Lakers go back and try to trade for Daniel Gafford after the Luka trade? Daniel Gafford, I think, makes a lot of sense for the Lakers. I would love to have him on board. I think he does several things for Lakers, right? Gives you a clear upgrade at the center position, maybe even some potential of playing DeAndre Ayton and Daniel Gafford like double big lineups with Ayton's ability to knock down the mid-range. I think you could do some kind of creative stuff there. Daniel Gafford gives you that interior presence, kind of body that's willing to bang with the big boys, but also gives you, kind of that shot blocker, that defensive presence on the inside, as well as some athleticism, which the Lakers could use, right? His nickname is the landlord for a reason. Also gives you that chemistry and familiarity with Luka Doncic, gives you a center that has that kind of built-in chemistry, which I think could go a long way, and then kind of moves Jackson Hayes into that kind of third big man role, which is what I think he is best at. He's fine for the moment. And if you had to for the season, like if we just ride Jackson Hayes the rest of the season, like that's fine. Another thing that Daniel Gafford gives you is just DeAndre Ayton insurance. Now, DeAndre Ayton has been fantastic, right? The dude's been everything we could ask for and then some. He is going to be due a new contract. So if he's kind of too pricey or another team offers him more money or whatever, and we end up losing him, having a guy in Daniel Gafford just gives you that insurance. Also, if at any point DeAndre Ayton does kind of check out or, because like I said it all offseason, right? As soon as we got him, I'm not worried about DeAndre Ayton this season. It's when he gets the bag. Does he stay committed? Does he stay bought in? Or does he look at it as like, hey, I got my money, I kick my legs up and get back to just chilling, right? Like that's where my concern lies. So, having Daniel Gafford as that insurance just in case. And then at worst case, if you have two bigs, you can always, Daniel Gafford will have trade value. You can always trade him if you needed to, if it's like, we're paying him $17 million to come off the bench or something. Or again, if that two big lineup works, then you're in business, especially at some point you're going to have a post LeBron era. So maybe you're moving Ayton to the 4 and Gafford to the 5 if that works out. So I do think it's something that would be interesting to explore. It is something that at the right price, I don't think I'm giving up a first or any, I'm not selling the farm to go get Daniel Gafford, right? Dallas is falling apart at the seams. There's already talks about them potentially moving on from Nico Harrison. It's just, I think that it's a wrap in Dallas. So I do think at some point they're going to start selling off pieces. I think they're going to have to. You kind of need to retool and revamp this roster. It's just not working. At least on paper, it looks great, but the paper isn't really working. And I think at some point they're going to have to start selling stuff off, kind of retooling around Cooper Flag, etc. To me, I don't think the Lakers need a rush to go get a center. I don't. I think DeAndre Ayton has been fantastic. I think Jackson Hayes has been great as your backup. I'd prefer Jackson Hayes kind of as like your third big in those limited minutes. But, if he's our backup all season, I'm okay with it. I'm fine with it. He's done well out there. Also, we've had a lot of success with our small ball lineups out there. And once you get to the playoffs, like DeAndre Ayton's playing 35 minutes a night. You're probably running small ball, depending on the matchup, but most matchups you could probably run it. Probably running some type of small ball unit. another 5 to 8 minutes a night, right? So like at that point, you're Jackson Hayes or whoever your backup is, even if it's Daniel Gafford, you're probably looking at playing him, maybe 8 to 10 minutes at most on a nightly basis, right? Some nights you might not even play him at all, right? So I just think that, the last thing the Lakers have bigger pressing needs, particularly out on the perimeter with athleticism and two-way players that need to be addressed first before you go in and solve a backup center position. Now, if you can do all of that in one swoop, then you do it, right? Like I've talked about, if you could go get a Nick Richards and a Dylan Brooks, perfect, right? If you could go get a Matisse Thybulle and a Robert Williams, perfect. If you could go get a, Haywood Highsmith and like a Day'Ron Sharpe, perfect, right? If you could get, say, a Max Christie and a Daniel Gafford, perfect, right? Or a Najee Marshall and a Daniel Gafford, then perfect, right? Like if you can get and solve some of your perimeter issues on top of getting that backup center in one swoop and one trade, then fine. I'm totally okay with it. I'm not saying like, don't get Daniel Gafford, but I think that I would want the Lakers to prioritize the wing depth issue and, the real two-way athleticism that the Lakers lack. Get that, because I just think that will go a longer way. That will likely put the Lakers over the top than a Daniel Gafford, right? Not saying that Daniel Gafford won't make this team better. I absolutely think that he can make this team better. But I just think, if you could go, I think for the 17 million, or I think Daniel Gafford is making like 15 million this year. It's like 14 and some change, right? But whatever, right? I think if you could go get a Matisse Thybulle and a Haywood Highsmith, right? Those two guys, I think those two guys would make a bigger overall impact and make this Lakers team much better overall than Daniel Gafford alone would, right? And you could get both of those guys probably for as much, if not cheaper, than a Daniel Gafford, right? Because to me, I just think that the Lakers, if they can solve their wing depth issue and get real two-way capability guys like a Matisse Thybulle who has the athleticism and the wingspan and the defensive capabilities to defend 1 through 3 and on many nights 1 through 4 while also knocking down the three ball with some efficiency, and then go get, again, a Haywood Highsmith, again, a guy that can defend 1 through 3 and can knock down the three ball with some efficiency. Now you got that shooting and the athleticism and the defense and guys that can chase down loose balls, stuff like that. And those are kind of lower tier guys. That's not counting if you could get a higher tier guy or a higher tier guy and a lower tier guy. I just think the 17 million you're going to pay Daniel Gafford every year, right? Or 17, 18, and 19 million you're going to pay him. I think you could get one, if not multiple, kind of versatile two-way guys, maybe lower tier guys, but still, I don't think the Lakers, I've talked about, Andrew Wiggins would be great, but I think that there's an argument to be made that a Matisse Thybulle and Haywood Highsmith make more sense and would be better kind of just natural fits for the Lakers than even a Andrew Wiggins, right? Because part of what makes Andrew Wiggins great is his ability to self-create and score the basketball. And on any given night, he could be your second and third guy, right? He doesn't have to be. That's not the role that the Lakers would be really looking for him to be. But there is that upside and potential. I just don't know how much opportunity he's going to have to get that, right? Like Andrew Wiggins, he's a guy that go get you 18 on any given night, but do we really need that? No, we more need him buying in heavily on the defensive side, rebounding the basketball, doing the dirty work, making the hustle plays, and being a legit two-way player for the Lakers. 3D, his self-creation, yes, at times is going to be great, times is going to be needed, but I just think a guy like a Matisse Thybulle or a Haywood Highsmith will much easier kind of fit into that role. Or again, if we're sticking with Dallas, I would rather, instead of going after a Daniel Gafford, I would rather go and try. Can you go get a Max Christie and a Najee Marshall, right, for the same price that you'd have to trade for Daniel Gafford? Can you get Max Christie back? Again, now you solve your two-way versatility out on the wing, rebound, shoot the basketball, score the basketball, all of that, but he still has a ton of upside and potential, right? He's one of the guys that I wanted to keep. I would have rather given up more assets or whatever to keep Max Christie because he's just kind of everything this team needs right now. And then also go get a veteran guy in Najee Marshall who's still, what is he, like 27 years old, I think, something like that. So now you got kind of two two-way versatile wings that you can slot in and play a role and add more depth. And those two combined, salary-wise, are roughly the same price as just Daniel Gafford right now, and are probably going to be cheaper long-term than Daniel Gafford combined. Max Christie at some point, maybe not. But point is, like, now you kind of solved your needs, and then go get a Nick Richards or something like that for $5 million, and just can you swap a Dalton Connect or something like that for a Nick Richards, maybe throw in a second or something like that. Like, hey, here you go. And now you got that guy, right? Now you solved your backup center. I think solving the backup center position, I think, is a lot easier than getting those like quality wings. So like the assets and the players and all the things that you would have to give up in order to get a Daniel Gafford, who, don't get me wrong, I would love to have him. If the Lakers trade for him tomorrow, I'm not going to be like, oh, what are the Lakers doing? Right? He'd be great. I do think he'd make this Lakers team better. But I just think the assets and things that you'd have to give up to get him, and then the money that you're committing to him for the next 3 years, which isn't a ton, but it is enough to where I think you could use, there's bigger pressing needs, is my point. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass question to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. If you enjoy these types of videos, truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.